Back in the early days, Wade Barnes had a choice: stick to selling crop inputs or take a gamble on something new that he was onto. Progressive and influential seed farmers from Manitoba networked about the concept and saw the potential, backing him when others wouldn't. A handshake, a check, and a leap of faith, that's how Farmer's Edge got started. From a pickup truck and a few acres to changing agriculture forever.
I would say that the folks at Double Diamond, they were in the business of selling crop inputs. And, I think my boss at the time was like, hey man, like you're spending so much time at this, like you got a business to run. And, and I had to kind of make a decision. Like I could see there was a business here, and I had a few farmers kind of come to me as I was sort of, wrestling with the decision of like essentially stop doing this or make it into a business. And guys like a farmer by the name of Wally was super encouraging. He had come to me and said, look, he goes, this is awesome. If they don't want you to do this, you should do it on your own. And and even offered to invest into it, which was super exciting. And then, guys like at the time, he's passed on now, but John Smith, who was from Smith Family Farms,
Yep.
was super supportive of John. So when I decided to do this, or I was thinking about do it, John just said, look, I'll book my farm and I'll prepay right now if you need money to get started. And that really got me going. And so I think I still have that first check framed here. And I remember riding in the combine with him, saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And he just said, he goes, what do you need? And I didn't want to take investment from him, but I needed a little cash to get started. And he wrote me a check that day to prepay his account. And that's how Farmer's Edge kind of got started. So some of that prepaid money from John and, a loan from the BDC of, I think it was 15 grand, and a little bit of savings I had. And, we had a pickup truck that we cut and that's kind of how we got started. We kind of had to figure this out. There was no real software that was out there, and Curtis would work away at figuring out how to, take a map and put it together. And so we kind of, out of that first fall, I think we started at about 20 or 25,000 acres, local guys. So yeah, we had a good business, kind of figured out, look, if we could make as much money as we were making at the crop inputs store and be able to play hockey in the wintertime and have fun, and this is great. And then John Smith, again, who was so supportive at the time, said, hey, you know what, I've been talking to a lot of my seed buddies, and John was so influential in the seed industry at the time, and they're pretty interested. You should come to the seed trade show. I was like, I don't know. I've never been to a trade show. I think I went to the co-op booth or whatever. So me and Curtis had to go together and build a trade show booth. We went to seed days and, got some interest, one of the real important ones is a guy by the name of Cam Henry, who's, has passed on now. But, showed up at the booth and we're like, what are you guys doing? And if you knew Cam, super aggressive guy, but
I know Cam. I knew Cam.
Super,
sold him sprayers. Yeah.
Yeah. Big picture guy. And that's, this is really interesting, and at the time there was a new son-in-law coming into the farm with Eric and who's had Pilot Mound roots as it was, which a relative of John Smith's, and small world, right? And so more or less said, hey, you need to come out to the farm and meet with me and Eric and talk about this stuff. Great. Okay. So, felt the trade show went well, met lots of people. There was lots of interest because it was cool and unique. Nobody was really doing this. Agritrend was pretty active then. Like they were the big dog in the, as this, call it, paid for agronomy was developing. But at the time, Agritrend wasn't really doing a lot of this precision stuff. They were doing a lot more of, soil testing, field agronomy. So we were a little bit maybe ahead of Agritrend on this. This was a little bit of our early niche, I would say. A few weeks after that, I drove out to Oak River and met with Cam, and I was sitting there. And I mean, Cam was I was just terrified of him, right? Going out there. He was so smart and he was like, he knew so much about this, about soils, and he brought up the soils map of the area, and he was like, holy crap, like, but he was super interested, and he wanted to give this a try. And then I remember that day the phone rang, and Cam took the call, and so he was chatting with this person on the phone, and the person had asked, what was interesting at seed days, and so Cam Henry went on to tell him, well, I met this new company called Farmer's Edge. It does variable rate, and it's super interesting, and so all of a sudden, the Cam hands the phone over and said, hey, wait, there's a gentleman here by the name of Mark Keating. He'd like to talk to you.
No way.
And being from Bertle, I knew the Keating name, of big farmers and, very reputable people. And so I was like, oh my God, it's Mark Keating. This is pretty cool. So I get on the phone, and, Mark, in his very humble way, is like, hey, Cam said this is super interesting. Would you mind popping up to my farm? And I was like, oh wow, yeah. Well, Oak River, home is Bertle, and not a problem. And so, get done the meeting with Cam, thought it went well. Cam booked some acres, and that was awesome, right? Like, first time kind of being away from Pilot Mountain and dealing with a true customer, a prospect that you actually turned into a customer. And then now I'm on my way to go see Mark Keating, which was holy shit. And then my phone rings, and then all of a sudden there's another guy. He said, hey, Wade, this is Tim Pizzi. I just got your number from Mark Keating, and Mark said you're coming up to see him. Would you be interested in stopping by my farm? Well, Tim Pizzi was a big name for me because that was Inland Seeds, and I worked at the co-op, right? That was the Pizzis that would, they sold so much product, and it was, like, oh wow, yeah, I'll come and see you. And it was like, oh my God, now I'm going to go see, I've seen Cam Henry, I'm going to see, Mark Keating. Now I'm going to go see,
just legend hopping here. That would be one moment.
And as I'm going up, I get another call from Bodgers at on the other side of Dauphin, another big seed group that was connected. And so, would you come up and see us? And that's really how it kind of Farmer's Edge got started, was just this word of mouth. But it really got started in the seed industry, because one seed grower would talk to another seed grower. What I learned quickly is that the seed growers are always very progressively minded and always open to trying something. And then if it worked, promote it out to their customers and ask nothing for it, right? That, like, if we did a good job, the seed growers would tell their customers, and nobody at that time was saying, do I get any extra margin? Like, the idea of having a dealership or just, it was just all word of mouth. And so all of a sudden we started to kind of like get these customers away from Pilot Mountain, and we were having to drive out there, and it was like, wow, I don't know if I could like be able to come out, because what we learned is that you kind of in the spring had to go out and had to do a whole bunch of soil testing and I was the guy in the truck doing the sampling.